Declarations of interest, no public forum, and any deputations, any late or urgent items for business? No, then moving on, please, and we welcome Debbie for her report. This is an item for information. Welcome, thank you.
Thanks. Kia ora koutou. Through the chair. So today's report is just an update on the activities of the Libraries and Visitor Information Department during April and into May. Really only two key points. One is the stats have been impacted this year because of just the way Easter, Anzac Day, Anniversary Day, the whole lot fell, and school holidays, and it was one of those we take it each day as it comes, and so there are some up and down trends there in the stats, but it is because of the way they fell. The other thing I'd just like to highlight too, just provide a bit of anecdotal feedback. You'll know that the West Otago Community Centre has begun engaging with the local community regarding the possibility of the library being integrated into that facility. This engagement has been developed with a little bit of help from Guy, but it is the West Otago Community Centre's engagement, not council's. We do have copies of the documents, obviously, available in the Tapanui Library, and I was out there yesterday and Melissa was telling me that we're getting lots of feedback and primarily really positive. People are saying that they think it could be really, really amazing. Obviously, the usual questions around funding, but overall, very, very positive. And Melissa has made it clear that this is a community-led project. And the council will be largely driven by what the community wants. So, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, please, from anybody? In the library support. Councillor Kennedy.
Through you, Madam Chair. Not so much a question, Debbie, but great to see all libraries right throughout the district have been very busy. And, a lot of, crafts going on, a lot of information being given out. Yeah. It is, whether we all like it or not, the libraries and those facilities are the hubs of the community. So, yeah, they're doing a good job.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. It's very much the case. The breadth of activity is just getting broader and broader. One thing I would just like to note, I see Mike's given you a copy of the document that the West Otago Community Centre have put out. If you have any questions regarding the library design, that is just a concept and it is being altered as we speak. In case anyone drills down into any detail, that is not the final.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. It's interesting. So we'll see another one later on.
I'm quite sure the chair of the committee, or the Hans, who's been leading the project for the West Otago Community Centre, is currently overseas. So I suspect we won't see or hear too much until he's back.
How far away?
Thanks.
Councillor Herbert.
Just adding a comment. No, just adding a comment. But I think the primary reason that they did put this out was just to fill a few gaps that were out there in the community as far as information goes. It wasn't trying to drum up support. There's a lot of murmurings going on in the community. So they thought, we know what happens if you leave a void. Someone will fill it with misinformation. So they wanted to control the make sure people are getting the right information. So that was, and I'm pretty sure they've been in contact with you guys. So that's one thing I said to them is make sure you're liaising with the team too. So no, look, great presentation.
Yeah, they are.
Good work.
Thank you.
Very important. Thank you very much. So we have a recommendation back on page 4 that we receive the visitor information update report in community libraries. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy, and seconder Councillor Herbert. All those in favour? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Another item for information. And we have some extra here as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The extras for the following item after this one.
Okay.
So I'm just presenting the Community and Facilities Operations report here. Most of this, all of this really was prepared by Kelly before he left. But I'm happy to take any questions and answer them as best I can. I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So going through, has anybody got any questions? Councillor Ludeman?
Do we have a date for the closing of the annual closing of the pool here in Valcruza this year, and how long it's to be here?
I did have that, but not to hand. I can get that back to you very soon. I think it was just after the holidays from memory, but I'll confirm
Right.
that.
Okay.
Chair, yep.
Thank you for that. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you. I'm not sure if might be able to answer this, but I just had a question around that graph on the page about the Taylor Park camping ground. The yellow and blue graph there, it's got value and user count. Kind of wondering how the user count can go up and the value of what they're paying drops, and then vice versa for the next one along.
And what's the value of?
Is it the value of the money they're paying, is it? Or is it?
I would assume that, but maybe best not to.
Well, I suppose it tweaked my interest because they do, instead of both going up together, they did opposite things. And like Sunday the 20th of April, and then Thursday the 24th, the yellow one spiked without the blue one sort of moving. So anyway, I just couldn't quite work it out.
Yes, it hasn't got a key of what the value is of or for or anything either.
Well, the value's on your left, and I presume it's dollar terms. And the user counts on the right, but I suppose what I'm asking is, what if one goes up, I would expect the other one to go with it. How would a user value not go up without the value going up?
It's early days yet, but sure, that's something to clarify.
It's not a major.
Oh, no.
Just through you, Madam Chair, I do know that like a couple and a single person is the same cost. So if you've got lots of single people coming through, you could have a different number of users to the value that they've paid for, but we'll wait for Mike to get more information and confirm it.
Thank you for that, Councillor Catherwood.
Oh, yes, help out with that graph. I'm pretty sure it's from the company Penny, that's the automated system. So what it's capturing the numbers on one side, and then you've got where the guests are from, etc. That's their data. And the yellow value, which is the monetary value. So it's a site, if it's a site fee, it could have 5 people on that one site. It's a site fee.
So we don't charge for, like if you've got 5 people or 10 people on site, they pay the same amount.
I'm not sure.
That's
The two graphs.
I'm pretty sure there's two included in your nightly fee, but more than that. Pretty sure they pay after that.
That's right. Well, that's the most camping ground. So that's what I'm saying. The values rise together. But anyway,
We'll get the information. Thank you, Mike.
Get back.
Mayor Cadogan?
Yeah, Mike, it's a sort of over the last few weeks, I've had reason to be going backwards and forwards to Dunedin early in the morning. And there's always an old bus camper van thing parked outside Taylor Park on State Highway 1. And you look at it and you think, what's to stop campers? Pretty sure it's what he's doing. Just park on State Highway 1, jump over, have a shower, have a cook up, come back and sleep in the car for nothing. What is the structure of getting the money in there? Because that bus was out on State Highway 1 on the footpath type thing every morning.
Yeah, Chair, so I understand that all the facilities at that campground are currently locked. What Darwin is moving towards is a swipe key. So the same swipe key that gets you through the gate will actually get you into those the showers and what have you.
Yeah.
At the moment, after this locked.
Yeah, they have to go and get a key, and so they won't.
I suppose if a friend's in there, you can still use it anyway. But yeah, I just might be my conspiracy theorist going on, but I wonder what the structure was for paying them that.
Council's Freedom Camping Officer might have something to say about the buses, living in the bus as well.
We also have a caretaker on site currently as well, so they'll be keeping an eye on people doing that sort of thing.
Councillor Martin?
Oh, no, you're right.
Right now, Councillor Volweiler.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Mike, just, and I'm presuming you won't be able to answer this, but relating to that same page there, just the number of long-term people staying long-term at the camping ground versus the sort of overnighters would be interesting.
Yeah, I can clarify that too. I don't believe it's a large number, 4 or 5, something like that, but I'll confirm that.
It seems to be a reasonable number of caravans and motorhomes that are parked there.
Yeah, don't move. Okay, thank you. Councillor McAtamaney.
Yep, thank you. I'll just make a comment there about the Clutha Valley Community Centre earthquake strengthening. We did have a committee meeting there a week or so back, and obviously obviously they haven't replied. But I guess the council can probably guess what they, I'm pretty sure you can guess what their decision will be around the investment. Be pretty straightforward, I think. Council pays to do that, we will, otherwise forget it.
And
That'll be a starting point.
And the Moneymore Community Centre, if you have a look at it, it certainly doesn't look as though it's all in very good shape. So the halls, are they all going to have engineers' reports on them, every single one?
Well, I mentioned that horses for courses, right, depending on
Good,
each
yeah.
situation.
Any further questions? Mike's report. Councillor Martin.
Through you, Madam Chair, Mike, the handout you gave.
For the next one.
Oh, that's next one, right, not on the community. Right, sorry.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation. Would somebody like to move that recommendation that we received? Councillor Herbert and the seconder, Councillor Phelps. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much for that. And so moving on to page 39 now, and another item for information, Mike, about community projects updates, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So obviously this is a report that I prepared, I guess, really under my previous role before taking on the acting role, filling in Kelly's boots. It's an update on our place community plan projects. And obviously there's been some activities that they're going on since the last meeting. And then I provided, obviously the normal summary tables there as well, just to provide you a bit more detail on what's been happening. The handout, I guess, is a bit of an update or more where we're now, I guess, in terms of the current situation within the community team. And these are just what we've got here is a list of projects really that I would describe as reasonably active, and that some way or another there are groups out there doing toppling about all of those projects. We've had discussions or there's some activity. Previously, through my previous role, obviously there was a level of support for those. That contract has obviously been exhausted. I'm now doing other stuff as well. So just noting, I guess, that some of those things that you might be aware of and might come back to you, that there's still people out there doing stuff. We really don't have the capacity to support them in a major way at the moment. As I say there, we're looking at how that might be resourced next year and what that might look like.
Councillor Ludham.
Answer questions.
I have a question around that, and I get where you're coming from, Mike. You've done a great job. But if, say, each councillor in these areas was to take kind of an active reporting role on each of the projects in their area and fed that back into council on a, say, an update on a monthly basis or something, would there be someone here that was able to keep this spreadsheet active and going? Because I actually think this is a really good report / spreadsheet that we get. It keeps us across what's happening. And probably most councillors within the area are across what's happening. So is that a possibility?
Through you, Madam Chair. Well, at the moment, there isn't really anyone sitting in that desk, to do that role. I guess I can try and do our best, but with what we have, I guess that everyone in the team is really busy doing other stuff. I mean, there are councillors, I guess, who have been involved in some of these projects anyway. But and so therefore, the more involvement that you have, the better.
Yes.
It helps. But in terms of collating that, which is through those tables and plus the administrative support, I guess is what I'm saying, and the technical support that we bring to those groups.
I'm probably saying if we were able to feed in, if there was someone that could basically keep the spreadsheet updated. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess each councillor could, but
Yep.
whether it would be looking as good as this might be another.
Maybe not, but I mean, I guess my aim would be to keep bringing this report to council. It may not, but and as always, you have the ability to update us at that time or at any other time in terms of things that you might want changed. So that still stands, but yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Herbert.
Just to reply to that, that's happening to a degree in Western Otago with the community board. So each community board member has 1 or 2 projects, and they are feeding back to that. And Mike and before him, Kelly done a great job. So that is actually happening, and it's the connection between the groups and the community board. So it's happening at that level. I'm not sure whether Chirpika and Lawrence are doing it. So happening at West Otago anyway.
I guess, and Madam Chair, the other thing I guess I would add is through my new role, what I am, so obviously we attend the community board meetings, but I would like as best I can to attend some of those other groups, so the Titanian Promotions, the Clinton group, you know, Awaka going forward, et cetera, not every meeting, but be out every night of the week, but especially just because I think that's really important, that engagement with those groups. So that'll help too.
Thank you. And there's a update on your Tyree Mouth, the mural to be added. We had on Sunday, I attended there and there was showing off the mural, and I was going to have it on my phone and be able to show you. It looks wonderful, and there was prizes for the children that had put in ideas. We saw all their artwork and it was really great, and the mural looks stunning. It looks really good. So it's on this end here and along that wall there, and it's lovely. It's got seals and it's got all sorts of things. So that's done.
Leader today.
Oh, did they get paper and photo in the paper? Yes, no, it's really, really good. Anyone have anything else to ask, add, any issues of the report? No, then we have the recommendation on page 39 that we receive the communities update projects. Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Mackie, any further discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike. And moving on to the page 52, the planning update report, and that's an item for information. Welcome.
Okay. She can say that.
Welcome.
Through the Madam Chair. Kia ora everyone. I am Michaela Barracua. So I am a planner representing Olivia Restiero, who is on leave at the moment. So I take the planning update report as read and am open for any questions.
Right, do we have any questions of the report, please, from anybody?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Councillor McAtamaney.
Maybe it might have been me. Yeah, hi Michaela, I was just curious, comment about the gold mine at Waikaka and the Glenkinnick Rural Water Scheme. How was that to be, how might that have affected the water scheme?
So at the moment, we've gone back to the processing planner from the Gore District Council, who has made the notification. We've requested further information on how they've deemed it to be affected. But based on that, we've also, I'm collating information from the waters team and the infrastructure team to see if there's any comments regarding any pipes that may be within proximity to the proposed location. So at the moment, we are just awaiting further information to make a determination on how we respond.
Thank you for that. I had the same question. Meg Dogan.
Yeah, Michaela, I just couldn't quite correlate on page 56, 57, because there's 2 spikes there in November and May, and then you go down here and it doesn't correlate. What happened in November and May that the spikes, I'm not being awful here, but was it stacked up and then a consultant or someone came in and did a few, or what? How did we get 2 buffs like that didn't actually correlate to the page below it on 57?
So based on my knowledge, and I can confirm, but these were consents that were limited notified. So they go over the 20 working days, still within the statutory timeframes. But that's where the spikes would be showing. I can confirm and come back to you.
Yeah, that was just, I just reading it, thinking that's not adding up, but that's, if it's not loading them up and then flicking them off to outside ones to catch up, then it's the only cost each one.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor
Just a
Hubert?
comment to Councillor McAtee, like the Waikika Township is on the Glen Fence. So it affects the whole school, the whole town is on that.
So mine's going to be on top of it.
Well, I don't know, but that'll be why if it's around Waikika, there's a myriad of piping there, so I presume that's what I read into it.
We're still waiting for
Yeah, so
it might be.
it feeds away from the school.
Thank you for that. Any further questions, discussions? No. And somebody willing to move the recommendation back on page 52? Thank you, Councillor Rawala, and a seconder, Councillor Fouts. No further discussion. Put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to page 58. This is for information once again. Malcolm, welcome.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. It's always interesting to see that animal control, we seem to be coming up with unregistered dogs. I see there's another 8 being found in since the last meeting we had. It's probably been quite a successful year for animal control. I think even though we've been down a staff member with illness, they've been quite successful in rounding up stuff and dealing with the complaints, which is really good achievement. With building controls, I see our 6 monthly comparison was up quite a bit on the same 6 months for the previous year. And it's actually good to see an increase across dwellings, alterations and commercial. It's not very often you see all 3 of them up, even though they're only up a little bit. It's good to see them up. Projects being undertaken, just flick back to building controls. The report was written before we had the June results, and we actually achieved 100% processing for June. So that was another good effort. The projects underway, our main biggest one that we're working with just now is to get approximately 1,700 of the open building consents from Ozone through into the new build platform, so that all the existing consents will be dealt with electronically and match into the new system. Because currently we're sort of running like 3 systems to try and manage everything, which is a wee bit of a nightmare. So that's something we're really looking forward to. I guess the showstopper or the show highlight was the fact that we picked up the Innovator of the Year award from the Boynes conference. We'd been nominated for it. It's to do with the move from paper-based consents through to build. We're the first council that's taken the step as big as that. Most people sort of filter through and do a wee bit of the time, because we took it by the bull by the horns and jumped right through and done a big achievement. I was only talking with them yesterday as well, and they believe this other project we're on that we could be in the running for it next year if we're lucky. So that's good to hear that as well.
Well done. Yes, I had to congratulate the whole team for that. That's really excellent.
Yep,
It just shows the ability to be able to get up and do those things.
and it's definitely a whole team effort to make it happen. It doesn't matter admin staff, all the BCOs. It takes a whole team to make it work. So
Well done. Well done.
that's all for me. Thanks.
Any questions of the report for Malcolm, please, Councillor Graham?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm asking for a friend. If you had 4 dogs last year and you only registered 3 dogs this year, do you have some sort of investigative thing, or you just think, one of those dogs died?
They do have checks in place. I mean, obviously the dog register is kept, so when when dogs are not re-registered, it would come up that they're not re-registered, so the question would be asked.
So you go and look
Yes, go and look.
everywhere,
So
around the country.
sometimes,
Levels flat.
yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes,
Yeah, no,
that's,
that's all right. I was asking someone else.
that's actually how we find a number of unregistered dogs. We go to a property, and the animal control go to a property, looking to see if this dog was still around, and they find 2 or 3 others, especially in the rural areas. So
Yeah, thought so. Yeah, I'll tell them that.
So last year, we had a student coming out from Dunedin, and she left her dog at our house, and then it had to be registered. So it was registered under our actual name until she left and went away. And I got a phone call asking, I got a visit coming down asking about the dog. So they do follow up, I can say that. Any further questions? Building stats looking good. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malcolm, on page 61, the staffing, I see we've got a couple of resignations there. What's right to fill those roles? Are the people out there looking for that sort of work? Because that, with them going, must put your department already under pressure, under a lot more, does it? Or?
it's through Madam Chair. That's actually always a good question. We're probably, and we're still have yet to advertise. We're doing a wee bit of research around the area, and there's at least 3 councils have restructured where there's actually been some staff where the jobs have been disestablished. When I say that, we've had an inquiry from one that is interested in shifting to the Balclutha district, but we have to put them through the process, obviously, to see. So yeah, it's one of those ones where we've just got to hope that we attract the people at the right time.
So you haven't considered reshaping the department, like these are a must to have replaced, or?
We definitely need the team leader role for admin is like a 50-50 type role where it's a hands-on role. We definitely need that. The admin staff definitely need assistance to help with their workload that they've got. With the building control one, yes, we would like to keep it in-house as much as we can, but we are also looking at other options if we need to, such that, well, with the build platform that we now use, it's really easy to contract out consent processing. And we're currently investigating the potential of using what they call remote inspections, which is basically done online by videos. Of course, not every type of inspection can be done that way, but we're looking to see what we can do to reduce like travel costs on the road and time, because that can be a huge impact on our workloads.
No further questions? Councillor Graham.
Through you, Madam Chair. When you put through a trainee to building inspector, do we bond them for any period after they finish their training, or?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, we generally bond for 2 years where we can. Currently, right now, we haven't had to put anyone through since probably 4 years ago, so we're probably quite safe in that area just now. So.
No further questions? We have a recommendation back on page, don't even see it, doesn't matter. Anyway, recommendation 58, somebody to move that please. Councillor Mackie and the seconder. Councillor Payne, thank you for that. Any further discussion, questions? Put the motion, all those in favour of receiving the update report?
Right.
Those opposed? Thank you, that is carried. Thank you, Malcolm. That brings our meeting to an end. Okay.
No, but, you know, hang on.
Excuse me. I want to open the corporate and policy committee meeting. And firstly, call for apologies, which I believe is none. Any declarations of interest, urgent business, and no public forum. Okay, we'll go to page 3. First item, policy on gambling venues review. And we've also got Peter online.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kia koto. I'm happy to take the report as read and invite any questions through, Madam Chair.
Any questions? Mika Dogan.
Yeah, this is quite an important thing that we do sort of once every triennium and a bit. And I know that it's tight. We don't get too much latitude, but I'm hoping this changed. Because I know in the old Sharing Gang days, it wasn't so much the number of pokie machines. There'll be people that you knew fine well that are desperate for the rent, they didn't have the money, but they'd hear the noise in the other room, and the noise would call them up. Not the numbers, it's the tinkle of on the bottom of the tray and the silly winning noise. I'll ask again, is there any way we could have a cloth put on the bottom of every tray and the noise turned down? I know we tried to stop the noise last time and we didn't get it, but are we able to curb it in some way by every single machine has a cloth where the coins go in and the noise volume is whatever set at a level? Because I know fine well that we would be, in the old Sharing Gang days, we would be sitting there and it would call them in. They didn't have the money, but they got called in by the set.
Thank you through you, Madam Chair. I've never actually come across that one before, Mayor.
I tried it last time.
Yeah, I haven't come across it, so it sounds like quite a good idea. It's probably a proposal that I could have a conversation with the licensing trust to see if they can look at that. If I haven't had it officially, but it looks like the new facility down on the corner of Clyde Street there is probably not going to have any pokie machines at all. So that's probably a bonus. We're looking at
TAB?
No, they were looking at putting 6 machines in, which is a sinking lid policy that we're required to have, which would have been a reduction from 13. But they're just looking at it that they're thinking that the facility should be more of a family environment and looking more to the restaurant area.
And they can't cut those machines to the no. So that's magnificent. That's a big one. But if we could please, even if it was just a cloth on the bottom of those coins, it costs nothing as such, and it would have a big effect on people with an addiction because they're trying their best.
I'll mention that to them and see if we can get that to happen in their current facilities.
Thank you.
Any further questions, please, for Malcolm? Councillor McAtee.
Thank you. So just to clarify there, so there were 13 pokie machines in the old, so it's not 18. Yeah. So at the 0, that means there's 18 less than ever be in the district.
That's right, that's correct, yes.
Forever after. Yeah.
Any further questions? Any discussion on basically the 2 recommendations that are there? Councillor Graham.
That's for you, Madam Chair. Are there any actual TAB venues in the district?
No.
Or are they just no TABs?
Automatic machines.
Standalone TABs?
No.
Auto machines.
Yeah, but no standalone TABs.
No, through you, Madam Chair, no standalone, as far as I'm aware. Not being local probably makes it a wee bit hard for me to see. But did the RSA have it at one stage? I'm not sure on that one.
What he did at South
Otago did, but
I think the TAB's probably gone more to online more than anything.
Any further questions? Questions, we've got 2 recommendations there. Anyone prepared to? So, for the renewal of the policy agreement without option one, just to be reviewed again in 3 years. You mean? Yep, okay.
How do we feed in the request?
Second.
It's only going to be a request, not a conversation.
I'll just do it as a conversation request to see if we can improve in that area.
Okay, so the 2 recommendations.
Have it a second.
Councillor Wheeler, second. So both those recommendations there. Any further discussion? Put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. So now page 10, strategic planning and policy report.
Yep, as with previously, happy to take the report as read and invite any questions through you, Madam Chair.
I see Peter here online as well. Any questions? Yeah. There,
Not so much a question, but page 11, Southern Water done well on the 19th of June at 4 p.m. We're having a webinar trying to get every councillor in so that you have a base level of understanding of where everything's at and whatever. So please, there's going to be Brad Olsen will be there again, and Bill Bayfield and the Morrison and Lowe team, and we're going to try and get as many as we can so that councillors, because I'll say it, I'm going to a lot of meetings, guys. There's a lot of things happening. I'm nervous as hell because we're not making decisions, but we're taking steps. And I'm really, there's no backup to it. So please come along to that Southern Water done well so that you can have your input and give some help, please.
Is there an email invite, Brian?
I don't know how I did it. It's in my diary already, so it should
Been put in our diaries.
Oh, I haven't got it.
Okay, any further questions on this report?
Oh, no.
So representation arrangements, how far away are we for that to be finalised?
I'm not quite sure. From what I understand, everything that we need to do, we've done. I think it's in the hands of the electoral officers. Is that right?
And I've got another question.
Yep.
In these new wards, am I right in saying it's Clinton, Clydevale, and what was it, Bruce?
Milton.
No,
No,
Bruce Waihola and
rural and then Milton.
I think they were the two, they were bringing in, so instead of it being just Clinton, it's kind of been renamed to Clinton Clydevale. Am I right in saying that?
Yep.
So, Jules?
Yep. It was as per the determination in the maps.
Okay.
So.
So, no, that's fine. Thank you. Any more questions, please? Questions? There's a recommendation there to receive the report. Is someone prepared to move?
Happy to.
Councillor Funch, seconded Councillor Herbert. Any more discussion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And against? Motion's carried.
Yes, those are the names.
Yes.
Those don't change. Clinton, Clydevale, Bruce Waihola, Milton is a separate one.
Yes, and it was always Cotinga, wasn't it,
Yeah, it was.
previous?
Those other ones haven't changed, but the area has changed.
The area's changed, but
The name hasn't changed.
no.
Okay.
Page 14, the management accounts report. Trey.
Kia ora, everybody. For the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenditure, it's kind of the same story as this morning, with a bit of an less income than budget, with a wee bit more expenditure than budget, but the majority of the deficit or the extra deficit at the bottom there is made up of unfunded depreciation. So of the 10 mil, 9 mil of that's depreciation. And then on page 16, the only thing to comment on is we had 7.5 mil of borrowings in April, with 2 million of that maturing on Monday, which will roll over, and then 5 million of that will mature in April 2028. Outside of that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Trey? No questions, they're all probably asked this morning, thanks. There's a motion there to receive the report. Is someone prepared to move? It's Councillor Payne. Someone to second? Councillor Bolwheeler. Any further discussion? Put to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. And now, Greg, the investment portfolio update.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the report as read, just noting that we had a positive result this time, 780,000 gain. So it was good after the previous couple of months of losses. So have you taken any questions or discussion?
Any questions for Greg?
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Yeah, just 718 a month would be fine.
Good.
No questions. Is somebody prepared to move to accept the report? Councillor Bolwheeler, seconded please. Councillor Payne. Any further discussion? Put to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Page 20, the development properties update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take this one as read as well. Just took on board the suggestions from the previous meeting about cutting down on historical information out of the report. So it is now quite a bit smaller. So I'm happy to take feedback on that, whether that's enough information or whether potentially I could provide just a small table of year-to-date costs and historical costs to see where projects, where the development properties are at financially. Happy to take any questions on that.
Well, probably from me, thanks for the updated report. And I think it would be good to see perhaps some financial figures in there as well, just to see where we're going. But that's more relative to what's happening at the moment. It's got rid of all the dead wood, so to speak. And but it would definitely be good to have some financials as well.
Next time.
Yep. Any other questions? Mikadogo.
Yeah, it's great to see those other, we're right in the middle of winter, the real estate is meant to be slow, and yet if those two sections get confirmed, we're up to 5. It's a third, basically, of the subdivision. Hit spring and they'll be gone, and we'll be back scratching around for more. Have those two sections gone unconditional on the time in between writing the report?
Not aware of it. Do you know, Sonia?
One settles today.
One settles today, apparently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're starting to, before you know it, we'll be through the other side and we won't have any of the sales. So that's great.
Good. Any more questions for Greg? I've got a motion there to receive the report.
Move.
Councillor Finch, seconded please. Councillor Fouts. Any further questions? Put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. And Sharon isn't available, but Greg, I'm sure, will speak to the corporate finance team report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just take this one as read. Some questions I can try to answer more related to Sharon to answer next time.
Questions for Greg? Mikadogo.
Page 23, Greg, annual plan is 15th of June. That was a Sunday.
It should be.
I don't know if I missed the meeting or.
Yeah, it should be 15th of May. Corrected year. Yep.
Any further questions? I actually also think the fees reimbursement report that's been changed is a good way of giving us a better indication of what's been reimbursed in each area. It's a way clearer, so thank you for that. Yeah, and I guess good luck to the team as you get through the datascape work in the next month and go live 1st of July. I'm sure. Busy. No further questions for Greg? Okay, there's a recommendation there on page 22 to receive the report. Somebody prepared to move. Councillor Kennedy and second Councillor Finch. Any further discussion? Put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. That brings us to the close of the corporate policy meeting. Now,
Structure Strategy and Operations Committee meeting for the 12th of June. What's that called? What's that called?
Today, might be the wrong one. No, it's the wrong date.
It's on the top.
Yes.
On the top, it's got the 1st of May.
Yeah.
Just a test to see who picked it up.
But anyway, item number 1, item for information, operations update, transportation. James.
He's just coming.
On his way.
He's coming.
Just hosing them all up on the way to.
Angela might be able to provide the update.
We don't bite.
What would you like to know?
Everything.
Very question.
Okay, how are you?
Councillor Herbert.
So the trucks, the routine trucks, do they travel every road in the district routinely?
Yes.
How often, like roughly how often between travelling off today, when would they go on again next? Roughly.
I'm not sure they're on a
6 months,
schedule.
or-
I know that they're scheduled
James, you're up, Jimmy.
Alan,
They only the sealed network.
can you see them in when he comes?
They're only the sealed network though,
Ah,
not the unsealed network.
right, so the routine trucks do not travel on unsealed network.
Not,
Yeah, they do.
well, I don't think they were.
Who am I listening to?
Yeah.
People that know.
So the routine trucks are basically, they're out there. They've got their own areas, the ones either side of the river.
Yep.
And they do a scheduled run of the sealed roads. But if there's any service requests that come in, they'll go and deal to those. So if you've got pothole problems, trees, that sort of thing.
You mean
Going
on
back to
unsealed?
the
On the unsealed roads, yeah.
But only only routinely and they're travelling around, travel on the tar sealed roads, is that right?
Yeah, so they've got a scheduled roads.
Yeah.
To cover. So they need to cover those each month. So then if there's any other service requests come in, they'll go out onto the gravel roads to do those.
Any further questions for James?
Sorry, just through you.
Interesting.
Mr. Chairman, if they were going to do routinely on the unsealed network, how many more do you think we would need, James? Because that's the issue, is the scale of the unsealed network versus the sealed. We've got 2,000 kilometres of unsealed roads. So you'd need, I don't know, several more, I'd imagine, at least, to try and do that on the unsealed network.
But either way, the same amount of work still needs to be done on those roads. So we're either preempting it. I mean, the reason I ask is, in my flat the other day, there's potholes there that have been there and there's blocked culverts and things. So I'm kind of thinking, well, why is this not being picked up and why do we have to? No, that's I understand that, but it's.
So we
Waiting for you to.
Wales would be waiting, guarantee.
to answer, to follow up on your question, is that we prioritise roads depending on their hierarchy. So that collectors and arterials get inspected more often than the local roads on this unsealed network. So in the gravel road networks, if we followed that same hierarchy, they'll probably only be inspecting those once a year with the routine truck. Because of that priority list, what we do rely on is the grader drivers normally to report those sort of things. And if there has been potholes here that have been a long period of time, normally we'd expect the grader drivers to come back to us with that report. If they haven't, well, I might follow up on it.
There'll be some service requests tomorrow. Or today.
Yeah.
Right, James, we'll go back to you for an update on the report.
Apologies for my lateness. I have got an update report for my thing. After submitting the report, I did come to my attention that we had a NZTA technical audit that I accompanied the NZTA, 3 members of the NZTA for 2 days around our network. They seem to be impressed with the general condition of our network and our practical approach to doing repairs. Especially for like the slip repairs and things where the road's wide enough, rather than spending hundreds of thousands of dollars repairing a slip, and a few marker pegs and moving the road over. So they seem to be quite impressed with that. They did comment on making marker pegs on the culverts, but when I pointed out that we've got 20,000 culverts and approximately $15 a culvert peg, marker peg to put in, that money could be better spent actually cleaning culverts rather than identifying them. So they beg to disagree with us over that one, but they did see my point to a certain extent. The bigger concern was the Forward Works program with their SEAL program not meeting what they're seeing on the ground compared to the program. And the strategy and delivery team are now working through that program to adjust it to suit. And 2 of the supervisors from the operations team have been out this week with Becca doing inspections with them, collaborating with them to get that program all sorted.
Thank you. Councillor McAtamney, do you have a question?
Sorry, I was just going to ask about the graded drives. That's been answered.
Councillor Ludeman.
Well, I'll go back to the unsealed roads as well. I mean, we have a water team basically within council that is probably out on these unsealed roads a lot. Would that, if they were to see maintenance work needing done, would they feed it back into And to you? Because they are council employees at the end of the day. I know it's a different area, but.
We don't tend to get that sort of thing, no more than we get, any other contract or staff member ringing that we get them from sharing contractors and transport firms and things like that.
Which is a shame, because, you know, they could all do it instead of paying.
We do rely a lot on the service request system to get those issues in the unsealed network or the low volume networks. Because, Jules said we've got 3,000 kilometres of road. It's not practical for us to inspect them all.
I get that. Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Martin, did you have it?
James, just going back to the culvert one, but 20,000 culverts, $15 a peg, but how are the staff going to identify that there's actually a culvert there? There's no peg to say that there is.
And the other question is, how do they find out where the culvert is to put the peg in the first place?
That's right.
Yeah.
So is it not GPS?
So all the culverts that we know of are located on GPS. They're recorded in our RAM system. So that gets us to within probably 10 or 20 metres of a culvert. If on a bad day, a good day will get us within about 5 metres of the culvert. The culvert crews are quite skilled at identifying where a culvert should be. There's little telltale signs of marks in the bank and where the grass is a different colour and things like that for finding culverts that are hidden in the grass.
Or a deer hanging out of it.
Yes.
So, but I don't know what's going on, but like I was talking to some of the staff the other day about service requests, and it just doesn't seem to be funneling through to our ratepayers. You know, like you hear them saying about the flat tyres and the sharp rock and potholes and da. And when you say to them, put a service request in, and they don't, like how can we make it much plainer for them to actually put a service request in? To take a bit of ownership, appreciate, you know. Like,
We certainly are getting more service requests now than we have in the past. It's been steadily growing. If you look at statistics, we double the number of service requests about every 5 years, I think it is. When I first started the service request system, had a limit of 10,000 service requests in the system. Once it got to 4 or 5 digits, it fell over. We're presently getting close to 10,000 service requests a year. So it's through 3 borders and road.
they just don't seem to be getting it though. Like put the service request in, like the organisations start happy to do it if they know about it. So,
Councillor McTamney.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment. I was quite impressed. I found a big block culvert from that flood in February, and I think I put a request in, and then 2 days later there was a jugger out there. The culvert cleaner guy was out there, and that was fine. And the following Monday, I think we went back to fix the fence where the water had all washed through, and then your radio inspector come along to check the job that the culvert guy had done on the cleaning out the culvert. So I thought that was all within a week. I thought that was actually quite good. But, yeah.
you carry a lot of weight, Councillor McAdoo.
That was what I wanted, whether the name on the service request made it. All went very well.
Councillor Mackie.
Yeah, that in Chetty, it works very well because there's a photo there on Hillfoot Road, which comes Fish Pond Road runs onto, and you didn't take you as long to go and fix that at all. So if the reports are put in, it's certainly they do get action.
Any further questions for James? If not, someone prepared to move the recommendation on page 3 that the Infrastructure Strategy and Operations Committee receives the Operations Update Transportation. Councillor Herbert, second Councillor Wheeler. All those for? Aye. Against? Motion passed. On to item number 2, which Operations Update, Green Space Waste and Compliance. Mike, welcome. Back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not as tall as James. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As previously, is still getting up to speed with some of this, and other people have prepared this report, but happy to take questions and get back to you if I need to.
Questions for Mike? Mayor Cadogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the top of page 8, just with the toilets, 6 replacement roll holders and what have you. But Benji came here for annual plan a couple of weeks ago and started listing just the Clinton toilets damages, and there was more than that. Have we followed up, or? I'm just he went through quite a list of what was smashed up down in Clinton, and then I read that and I thought, hold on, something's not lining up.
James, answer that. Good on you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this report precisely, but toilet roll holders is something that happens quite frequently. If Benji was talking about just this past month, or whether it's over the last year or so, it is something we have issues with, because it's very hard to make a solid toilet roll holder. And if we do, then just set fire to it anyway. It is a problem right through the whole district.
Thank you. I was just, can anyone else want to ask talking about seats and mirrors and sinks? And I think we went through everything, and then when we got that, I thought, oh, have we missed it? Is it still broken and vandalised?
We've got to wipe it out.
Our contractors are normally pretty good. They're getting really practice with putting new toilet roll holders on and repairing sinks. As for mirrors and things, sometimes that can take a bit longer. The toilets, obviously the new ones here in Milton, they try to keep that standard high.
Any further questions? Councillor Wheeler, followed by Herbert.
Just on page 7, 3 operations budget. So is there proposed to be trying to take pest control and pest control in my whole entire mouth?
Not sure.
I think it's rabbit control.
Yeah, it's
And how is that to be carried out? Poison shooting?
We have done round of poisoning on Riverside Reserve by the rail line with the Aero Club as a joint venture. But most of the work that we do is just shooting. So there's Riverside Reserve is a concern in this town, the whole of the domain, and Narston Park area. So the 3 main areas.
I believe the railways is going to be carrying out pest control poisoning this month along certainly along my whole anyway. I believe so.
Yeah, I'm not sure of this round, but that was another. We worked with railways as well as last month.
Yeah, this I think along perhaps the cycle trail as well.
So is pest control our responsibility, not ORC?
It's not the end, it's responsibility.
The ORC do the monitoring, but it's the property owner's responsibility to maintain.
Oh, right.
Maintain the level.
So we're doing it as property owners, not as.
Yeah.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comment was just really on the range there and the statistics and what a valuable role that is and the amount of work they're actually getting through. I think it's great. 610, camper van interactions and like everything they're getting through there, and the sort of eyes and ears on the ground is great.
Any further questions for Mike and James? If not, there's a recommendation on page 6 that the Infrastructure Strategy and Operations Committee receives the operations update, green space and waste. Someone prepared to move that? Councillor Ludeman, second. Councillor Wheeler. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. On to item number 3. Operations update water. Linda.
I'll handle this one through you, Mr. Chairman. So happy to take this report as read. We had a reasonable discussion this morning, so yeah, happy to answer any other questions that have arisen since then.
Councillor McTamney.
Thank you. Page 12, just tomato ROI. So you've had a meeting with around that Clydevale Pomahaka Boars. What come of that? Who's going to win that one?
Well, there's an issue with the ORC as well with regard to that. Yeah, we think we should be able to work through exactly what's required there to the satisfaction of Tamata Arawai. We've still got to have those discussions with them and complete them, but we are regularly discussing that with them. We think the ORC issue can be ticked off relatively quickly, but yeah, still got to work through the TA, what they sort of expect. Oh, look, here's Linda.
So what was the ORC?
They were more concerned about contamination into the aquifer, which I was quite surprised by, because the whole basis of those bores is that we need to run them so the water's coming from the Clutha River rather than out of the aquifer. But just non-return valves on the system that either should be there or operating should cover off those risks from an ORC perspective, and then it's just dealing with the Tamata Arawai issues.
So when you said you had satisfaction from Tamata Arawai and what you're going to do, would that be satisfaction for the Water Scheme Committee then?
Well, Linda might have a further update.
Just through you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry I'm late. We actually raised it with Tamata Arawai to ask if they were comfortable with the current configuration. They were non-committal, as usual, but they didn't say anything poor, so we agreed that we would address the consent requirement, which appears to be a plumbing issue rather than anything major.
So watch the space.
If Tamata Arawai had an issue, I believe they would have jumped on it as an opportunity.
Councillor Martin.
Through you, Mr. Chair, sorry, it's just a question for George. Just a comment he made there around the bores. So you talking about the bores pumping out of the aquavane, but they should be pumping out of the Clutha?
Yep, so this was when we were looking at the iron and manganese issues out of the new bores. The work we did was actually basically the Clutha River water is being filtered through the bank and then picked up in those relatively shallow bores. So part of the issue around the water quality was we actually need to run them for a long enough period so the water is coming from the Clutha, not out of the aquifer. So that they're relatively close to the Clutha River, and the good quality water is the filtered Clutha River water rather than what's in the aquifer itself. And that's why they are relatively shallow bores. Like the Owaka bores are 55 metres deep. These bores, you hit bedrock at about 17 or 18 metres, I think, from memory. So it's really the gravel layers that are quite shallow that's filtering the turbidity and anything else out of the Clutha water, the river water.
So the original hearsay that the water vein was actually, the aquifer was rather than coming from Wakatu, was not correct, and it's just straight out of the Clutha.
Well, I've never heard that, and at that depth, there's no way it's coming out of anywhere other than relatively shallow.
It has been spoken about.
I've definitely heard. We've had people approach us many years ago about underground rivers of water from Lake Wakatipu that head out to sea, and we should be tapping into those for our groundwater. We've had water diviners come and say, I can show you where it is, and no one's ever been able to give us a reliable, good quality water supply from some of those assertions.
So the issue earlier on with the quality of the water coming out of the second bore was that it didn't meet the standard was because it was coming from the aquifer and not the...
That's right.
So that's solved now.
We did a longer pumping run, and that showed that over the longer pumping run, the longer we ran that, the more water was being drawn out of the Clutha, and the better the water quality was. So what that means is there's an operational issue. We can't turn that bore on and off, for example, but until we actually get it running long term, we won't know how long we can shut it off for before we can start it up again and not have those same water quality issues. But it's an operational management issue, not a there's no way this bore will ever work issue. So that's been worked through with our hydrological expert and test results and all those sorts of things.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, just thank you, Linda, for the report. So my question's on the Takanui water treatment plant, and they've refurbished the sand filter, which seems to be going all right at the moment, but it makes a comment here that the filter will require replacement in the near future. Given the length of time it appears to take to get these things to get them installed, would it pay to actually get that ordered now? We know it's going to fail at some point. Would it pay to actually get that ordered and get it going now?
Yes, so through you, Mr Chair, funding was approved in the annual plan, or diversion of funding for that, and I've already had the consultant that we use, the NRabbits, through a company that he's got a relationship with, their scope of works to get approval for them to get going on it.
Thank you.
Councillor McCroskey, did you have your hand up before, or no, I didn't sleep? Councillor Cathwood.
It's on page 36, the wastewater treatment plant in Owaka. Just those figures, that's nitrogen, is it?
Jumping. Next item.
Oh, next item, sorry. Too far ahead.
Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Just I compliment on the graphs regarding I&I.
Thank you.
13 plus. You know, it's much easier to understand for simple people.
Any further questions for Linda or Jules? If not, recommendation on page 11 that Infrastructure Strategy and Operations Committee receives the Operations Update Audit. Approved Councillor Herbert, seconded Councillor Payne. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. On to page 17, item number 4, Compliance Update Report. Kieran and Daniel, but they're away, are they? And that's
Prepared by them and presented by me.
Okay.
Happy to take the report as read, to take any questions.
Councillor Herbert.
I'd be disappointed if I didn't ask a question, so I better get into it. So on page 20, with the water treatment plant, and those numbers like for April, for March, what I'm talking about now, the 67% and 74% on page 20, on the right-hand column, where do they correspond with the report further down on page 25, I think it is? Is that where those numbers come from?
I imagine they do. They're probably just a summary using the red, amber, green for councillors.
I couldn't see any of it was 67 or 73.
I'd have to get one of the boys to validate.
I'm just trying to understand these things a bit more. Well, my next question then is, so there's 4 red graphs there up and down. The T3.17, which is the second one from the left, 3/4 of the way down, it's got 767. It's got a number of 767 for the amount of times. Do you see which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
What's that a measure of? Is that because that's how many minutes? Is that how many minutes it hasn't been reaching the right amount of UV?
Correct.
So that's nearly half, because there's 1,440 minutes in a day. So it's nearly half that day it hasn't been reaching the. That's what that's a measure of, is it? Thank you.
Further question? If not, back to page 17, for the recommendation that the Infrastructure Strategy and Operations Committee receives the compliance update. Someone prepared to move that?
It's getting green. Once
seconded by.
I'll second it with one more question.
Righto.
We're still on aluminium advisory.
Yes.
We've had 7 weeks without any aluminium in it. Are we still just keeping it as a reason we're still on?
We can get the team to review that. the last thing we want to do is bounce in and out of it, though. That's the only thing I would say. So if you think 7 weeks is...
I'm not sure, I'm not the expert. How long do we leave it in?
I'll get the
I don't know.
team to review that, to see whether we can consider lifting the advisory.
Thank you, maybe a second.
Councillor Castle.
Just a quick question on that, back to that, on that 36 from this report. Just that spike in team, is there any reasoning behind that? Was this helpful a month? Normally tracks midway, mid-pack.
No, I'm not aware of any cause being identified. It is quite difficult to try and narrow that total nitrates down.
So does it have, would it be just random, but is there anything with fertiliser land? Applying people on it and ending up through our I&I into our system, or is it seasonal?
I suspect it could be more likely industrial, like lots of trucks being washed that might have had fertiliser around. That's potentially more a likely source of it than fertiliser runoff.
To me, it looks like seasonal. When you look at the numbers, you think of the rain and the fertiliser applications, and then movements of stock. So
We probably have to look further back and see if there's a pattern around that time of the year in previous years.
yeah, because the plant can perform, but then has its glitches.
But it's been pretty good for almost a year for total nitrogen, other than the last 2 months.
So then, would it be, but could it be from a massive application of fertiliser that go through, get infiltration into our stormwaters that end up in our...
It'd be very unlikely for
Very
it to be
unlikely.
through I&I.
Okay.
More likely be a trade waste source or something like that.
Okay, that's right.
Right, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. On to page 42.
Can't say.
Infrastructure delivery and delivery update. Welcome back, Donna.
Good afternoon, everybody. So just before I take the report as being read, and if you have any questions, I've been listening to some of the other departments and I've been a bit remiss. I haven't actually been updating staffing updates for our department. So I'll take this opportunity. In the last 6 months, we've actually lost 3 of our senior project managers, and we are currently struggling to recruit and replace those roles and our senior asset management and transportation upon Chris's passing. We are struggling to entice people. So we're currently down quite a number of vacancies. So that is a reflection on project deliverables. We have, though, successfully, just as of yesterday, I believe, managed to recruit a Three Waters asset manager. That person will be moving to the district at the end of next month. So that's a positive. Another area that the team asked me to advise you on is in our fleet management space. Of these 7 vehicles that we had available for sale, we've managed to sell 5 so far. There's only 2 still outstanding. And I believe the team are writing a memo for decisions to the chief exec on whether or not we now go out to the likes of Turner's Auctions as an example on those 2. And it's time to review the proposal of how we purchase vehicles moving forward. So the team are revising the current processes associated with that and putting forward a memo. So on that note, I think that's 2 areas that I sort of needed to update that was outstanding from this report from when it was written. So take the report as being read, and if you have any questions.
Right, questions for Donna, Mayor Cadogan.
Thank you, Chair. Page 46, Donna, the Mount Killy, and with so many things happening over at Mount Killy. I went for a drive around there the other day, just done a lot, and the CD's land, Craig Dempster's land that goes away from the river, has got, I don't know, 20 acres or something there. Would it be a prudent time, you know, that's our biggest asset, we're putting a lot of money in, have we considered purchasing neighbouring land? Give us scope for the future.
No, because
With what?
as advised in.
Yeah, with what, I know, John, but it's, you know, spend a bit now, spend a whole lot later type thing.
So in the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting this morning, we advised that we're currently doing some more analytics to determine the viability of Mount Kiwi.
Yeah.
So.
And that was on that, because I thought, well, if all the compromises on the weed that we've got now, it's near the river and everything, that bit of, it's a bit of flashless land. It's got in between the railway line and that, it's getting further away from the river, and I just wondered whether a cheaper option could be to buy and have the room to move rather than trying to build a skyscraper.
Through you, the Chair, I think the current issue for consideration is the viability of what we currently process versus future growth and potential opportunities, which is what we're assessing.
No, I just thought it was, when I looked at it, I wonder, in the overall picture of what Mount Kiwi's figures are coming in, purchasing a land wouldn't be much.
Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's possibly one for the Deputy CE, though more so than Donna. Donna was saying about the staff resignations and so forth in her department as well. It's starting to get a wee bit alarming, like we're having these vacancies popping up in quite a number of departments. And I know everyone's pretty keen on the resident survey satisfactions. Do the staff actually get an exit interview before they leave the organisation? And as councillors, are we privy to seeing the results of the survey, the survey of why they're leaving the organisation?
So through you, Mr. Chairperson, absolutely we do exit interviews with staff. I would have thought that wouldn't be appropriate to give that to councillors, but certainly if there are general themes, we can bring that through to councillors. The other thing we're also doing at the moment is an engagement survey. We've done an engagement survey with staff and we're hoping to roll the results of that out. So that there may well be themes of that from a general HR perspective that the Chief Executive may report through his report. And the other issue in terms of resignations is we always have resignations, but we have, in order to, in some areas, we haven't filled them because we are trying to make sure we stick to our budget this year. And there's also some changes, particularly in Linda's area, we're expecting to have some changes in the quantum of work when we're getting rid of 3 water treatment plants and replacing them with another one. So rather than recruiting all the current staff, we're looking to see what that workload is going to be moving forward as well. And as has been repeatedly said, when we do have vacancies, we do look at the structure and say, actually, is this still fit for purpose? So there's work going on in that space and discussions as well.
I certainly appreciate that conversation, but I'm an employer too, and I always like to know why my staff are leaving. And I think as our roles as governors, it helps give us a feel for where our organisation is sitting as employers out there in the field. And we don't need to know the nitty-gritty bits, but just to get a feel of why have we got such a turnover. I reckon it'll be very fruitful information for the councillors. Thank you.
Yeah, I like to be transparent. From time to time, a staff member will come and escort me down to the back room at Cafe 55 for an exit interview, but never, it's always under the cover of darkness, sort of, but I think, we've asked, so yeah, it does happen.
Any further questions?
I will do one more, Donna. Do you want to know how I got all excited about the 13 million I discovered only to find I haven't? You didn't want to just touch on that in your report, did it? Was 13.1 million of sort of looked like, oh, we've got money saved, which I thought was that the tenders had come in cheaper. But it probably highlights the staffing issues and the fact that we're just not keeping up with the projects. And that's 13.1 million of carryover. It's going to come and visit us in the first couple of months of the next year. So, but it highlights that we're almost back to where we were.
So
dragging the chain.
Through you, Chair. So yes, the Mayor did approach me rather excited, thinking we were making all these savings, which would be lovely. And it's a mix of a number of things. I mean, some aspects when we've had the budget value and the tender submissions have come in, they've actually come in at a more favourable value than what the budgets were. So there is that aspect. But the main trigger really is the fact that we are carrying forward a number of projects into next financial year, because whether due to resourcing availability or whether, which is also aligning with that, to be fair, as if it did take us longer to do a lot of scoping and design work, again, because we've had reduced resources. So those values will carry forward into next financial year, which was approved at the annual plan decisions meeting last month.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, one other change that the team's made this month, which I think is really good, is where there is a variance in the budget, but we actually have funded it from somewhere else, we're highlighting it in orange rather than red, because it's not actually over budget, it's funded from another area. So that's just to try and give you the sort of traffic light, green, orange and red where there's a genuine overspend. So yeah, that's a slight different change in the reporting this month.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that around capital delivery and not getting there. Some of the other councils that we're proposing to form a water entity with also have their difficulties too. So, I know one of them's running at 50%. So yeah, so that makes it potentially interesting going forward too, as to whether projects actually get completed.
Through you, Chair. I mean, when I came to this council 2.5 years ago, I prided the fact that my team at that time, my predecessor, was achieving 90%. I managed to get us to 76% 2 years in a row from a 36 percentile. So for me, because I'm quite driven and wanting excellence with the team, it is disappointing. But we can only work with what we have available.
Yeah, I just sort of making the point that it's not just this council.
No, it's not.
Councillor Mackie.
On page 50, the fibre installation, like I found it amusing reading because we okayed, was it 100,000 extra or something to do this fibre connection between the system rather than doing it through radio. So they're saying they're going to possibly pull the fibre optic cable in now with a subsoiler or something like that, obviously, and so it has actually cost us more money, because if they'd pulled that cable in rather than lay it in this pipe that they can't use now, it would have been a cheaper option going forward anyway.
Through you, Chair, I can't comment on that. I'd have to review that. But what I can state is that the additional work that is being done is at no cost to council.
I hope so.
Oh, Ahmed, come on.
Hello everyone, through you, Chair, just to recap on what we discussed in the morning. The wireless solution is a temporary solution for now until we are still trying to do the more plowing through the fields, where we will drive a new duct on top of the existing one that's not working right now. But we're still working on that solution. So the wireless communication is just a temporary setup.
Okay, any more questions? If not, there's a recommendation on page 42 that the committee receives the infrastructure strategy and delivery update. Someone prepared to move it? Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor Herbert. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, and that brings this meeting to an end.
I'm just going to do the whole thing. So just so you know, team, because we have got a member of the public here visiting us, so we will go straight to public excluded now, but we're going to kill the